This is a bad verb to use, but I'm gonna say it. The Montreal Canadiens are leaking. And I know that's terrible for me to go out there and say the day after we make a video commentary talking about how something special is happening with this team. Oh yeah, it gets better. Let's make a video commentary talking about how crazy the statistics are. Let's talk about Suzuki being near the top of the NHL in assists. Let's talk about Dobesh. Let's talk about Hudson. Let's talk about Demidov and Kapanen. There's so much to like out of the Montreal Canadiens. And then what? And then what? That's really just it, right? And then what? Because the Habs had themselves a game yesterday against the LA Kings, a team that they just do not do well against. They haven't beaten the Kings in years. It's tough. And yesterday's game was yet another example of Montreal getting destroyed by the city of Los Angeles. 5-1 loss at the hands of Darcy Kemper and the rest of the Kings. Montreal had the lead. They were up 1-0. Thank goodness for Josh Anderson to go out there and score on the snipe that he did. Thank you, by the way, Anderson, for giving Lane Hudson an assist. I really need all these fantasy points as much as I can get. But, no. Josh Anderson got the opening goal, and that was it. Because the next 5 goals, Edmondson, Byfield, Fiala, Armia, Fogle. Look at all these former Habs going out there and scoring points. Edmondson, Armia, and Philippe Deneau, what did we do to you? What in the world happened with the Montreal Canadiens to the point where they end up blowing a game like this? But one of the biggest narratives about the Canadiens from yesterday's game, and it's why I'm saying that the team is leaking at the moment, is because we had ourselves a very particular roster move that was executed in the midst of the game. You had Juraj Slafkovsky getting demoted to the second line, and instead, Ivan Demidov was placed onto the first line with Caulfield and Suzuki. It was that bad. And for the most part, I think Canadiens fans were clamoring that Uri might have had maybe one of the worst games he has played all season. And in fact, you can say a bunch of guys were not really showcasing their best. In fact, I'd say the majority of the younger wingers, Slafkovsky, Demidov, Caulfield, kind of invisible yesterday. Slav might have been the worst of it because he had some really bad plays, centering passes that went right over to the LA Kings, backhanding it where nobody was. This was a really bad showcase for Slafkovsky, and it's why St. Louis made that choice to go with Caulfield, Suzuki, Demidov. He said in the media afterwards that he wanted to see if anything stuck. Unfortunately, there weren't any results on paper, and now I'm sitting here as a Canadiens fan that is both perturbed because I am in a very tight fantasy matchup this week and I have Slafkovsky, Demidov, and Hudson, and also a slightly concerned Canadiens fan. Because while it's true, maybe 50% of my brain is stuck here thinking about ways to navigate this situation fantasy-wise, the other 50% is debating if this is going to continue as a problem. And of course, I'm just a guy in my bedroom making YouTube videos. I'm not any more significant or important than any of you. You're free to disagree or make your own opinions. But I'm just sitting here wondering, what exactly is Juraj Slafkovsky at this point? I mean, take a look at the numbers and try to dive into it here. He is on pace for a whopping 46-point year. I mean, 2 seasons ago, he was at 50 points, okay. The previous year, he had 51 points, okay. This season, he's on pace for 46 points in a full 82. He's got 9 points in 16 games right now. Sure, 31 goal pace looks nice, but he's only on pace for 46 total points in a Montreal team that has seen progression from most of their guys. For Cole Caulfield and Ivan Demidov, you can say, oh, they're also invisible. Why don't you harp about these guys? Yes, that is true, but at the same time, Ivan Demidov is on pace for way more points than Juraj Slafkovsky is. Cole Caulfield is on pace for way more goals than Juraj Slafkovsky is, and I'd say that just in general, Slafkovsky had the worst game out of all of these guys yesterday. Caulfield is on an over point per game pace, and he's on pace for 60 goals. Whether or not he hits that doesn't even matter. He's already in a benefit of the doubt spot, point production wise, that we can move past him in this conversation. Ivan Demidov is also under a point per game. He's on pace for almost 70 points. That'd be crazy for him to do in his first NHL season. But for Juraj Slafkovsky, the fact that he is technically on the decline, and we aren't fully seeing him come into his own as a first overall caliber guy, it is quite intriguing. And you can also say that, oh, the draft position doesn't matter. So what? He was taken first overall and now he's in Montreal. Live with it. Okay, that's a fair perspective, and I respect where you're coming from, but I will try to counteract it and say, why exactly was it that this guy was drafted first overall? Why was it that Lafreniere was drafted first? Why was it that McDavid or Bedard or Celebrini was drafted first? Because all these guys exhibited talent that allowed them to be projected as future superstars. Sure, superstar varies. Alexis Lafreniere was not supposed to be Connor McDavid, but for the most part you can say that there are skills that allowed them to be included in that same realm. For Slafkovsky, he's not a center, so you can't really use that argument there. But he was a guy who exhibited Mikko Rantanen-esque projection with his size and his goal scoring. He lit up the Olympic Games the year in his draft season, and it's why he was really pushed forward by the time the draft came around. Now, in the NHL, his game is totally different. He's scoring goals, I guess. He's on pace for 30, but all the other habits around that, we're not seeing any positive forward progression here. And I get that progression shouldn't be linear and we shouldn't expect it to always just go up. But Juraj Slafkovsky's 21 years old. And I think at this stage, he's a full-time NHL guy. He has been for the past few years. It just looks like he needs to simplify his game. Like, just get into the battles. Just use your size. Stop trying to make super impressive things happen. Maybe Demidov on the first line is what was needed to really change things up, because Slafkovsky could not pass the puck yesterday. You could make the debate that some other guys also were bad in yesterday's game. Invisible, bad, you can use a number of words there. But for Juraj, first overall pick, I wanted to put an emphasis on him, especially since, yesterday's positive video went over like everybody else. Everybody else got a moment in yesterday's positive video. We talked about Dobson and Hudson and Suzuki and Caulfield and Demidov and Oliver Kapanen and Dobesh, and all of these guys got their props. So I think they're still in a positive mental place in my brain. But Slav, we haven't really been praising him all too much lately because, to be frank, it's been a while since he's gotten hot. He was hot towards the end of October, but he's cooled down quite a bit, and yesterday's game might have been the worst one he's ever played at the NHL level, so yeah, am I just a concerned fantasy hockey owner who is thinking too early about trading away Juraj Slafkovsky in a package deal alongside a Thatcher Demko? Or is this a legitimate conversation that we should be having? You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Juraj Slafkovsky and the way his career has gone? Do you see greener pastures as this season continues? The Habs have lost 3 out of their most previous 4 games, so it has not been a good stretch. Time's a ticking, man. And I'd really appreciate it if you went out there and scored more points, guys. Either way, thoughts in the comment section below about Juraj Slafkovsky and everything else. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.